All right, and we are live at the 2025 Beachbound Book Bash. I'm going to be your host, James Curtis, and we've got a great lineup of some amazing authors that we're going to talk to today about some of their exciting works. Before we get started on that, I do want to make sure to point out that we've got a giveaway. So go ahead and sign up for that giveaway. We're going to be announcing the winners and sending out notifications to the winners at the end of this event. So there is still time. I am excited to get things going. So we're just going to go ahead and kick things off with our first guest. We've got Kelly O'Hearn here. Let me go ahead and bring you on stage, Kelly. Hello.
Hi, James.
Kelly is the author of Arcanum, of the Arcanum series, and she's here today to conduct a tarot reading and check on the collective energy of our summer months. I'm excited to find out what's in store for the summer, Kelly. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about your relationship with tarot and kind of what you hope that we can learn about our summer months from a quick reading here.
Well, my profession, my full-time profession is I'm a tarot card reader. I have a
Mhm.
global business, and it's kind of like a life coaching, but I do tarot almost on a daily basis. So
Mhm.
with the reading that I have intended for today is just to look into what are the overall themes for the collective of the summer. Just so we can just be ready and enjoy and like put any worries to the side.
Yeah, I love that. Well, how do we get started? Do we have to come up with an intention first? I'm kind of a noob when
Um,
it comes to tarot readings.
Yeah, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find out what are the primary energies that will be over, like kind of over us during the summer months. And that's really all we have to do. You don't need to hold an intention or anything like
Oh,
that.
okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay?
Awesome. Yeah. Do you use tarot with your writing as well?
I do. The series, my Arcanum series, was completely channeled through the tarot.
Oh, okay,
All of
awesome.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did that over the course of about a few months of channeling past lives and things like that through the lens of my own soul. So that's what
gotcha.
became Arcanum. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting. I know that because I don't know if you're familiar with the I Ching, but I want to say it was the Golden Compass series or something like that. Like anytime he
hmm
got stuck, he would cast an I Ching and use it as a way to kind of figure out where his character was going next. And I think that's such an interesting way to handle your writing. Um, but yeah,
It is. And
okay,
I think a lot of creators do it often.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's get started. Let's see what's in store for the summer.
Okay, so here's the tarot deck. It's a 78 card deck, and I'm just going to choose three cards from the deck. Okay.
Gotcha.
So let me just I'm going to randomly pick a card here up against my chest so I can't see. Okay, so we have one. Oh, two came out. Oh, nice. Oh, this will be a good summer.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm very glad too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm gonna put you in spotlight so we can see him better.
we have the Strength card, we have the Moon card, and we have the Seven of Pentacles. So what this tells me is with the Strength and the Moon, there's just going to be a lot of momentum this summer, and that I don't think that surprises anyone because the energies right now globally they're very strong, they're very impactful.
Mm,
But with the Moon, there is a gentility to this. There is a softening, and people are meant to just kind of stay in their own lane and not push too hard against things where that would upset them. Like it's almost like kind of not a checkout, but just focus on your life, focus on what makes you happy, focus on the things that really illuminate your path, and let everything else be in the dark. Don't in other words, like don't watch a lot of news. Don't read a lot of current events if it upsets you, because with the Seven of Pentacles it's just going to be a really nice cadence. This is all about patience. This is all about just kind of a stillness and a waiting period. So just kind of take it. It is going to be an easy breezy energy. Because, and that doesn't surprise me because as we all know, with the fall and the autumn and post Labor Day, things begin to speed up again. So I hope
mm.
everyone enjoys it.
I love that. Okay. So the moon card you said is more
Mhm.
like about gentleness and kind of softening things up. I think that's really interesting right after what was the first card again?
The strength card.
Yeah, the strength card. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is really interesting. What would like the opposite of the moon card be? Would that be like the sun card, which is like get
Mhm.
involved in everything no matter what? Or
Yeah, the sun, we have the sun card comes right after the moon card in the tarot deck. They're
Mhm.
consecutive in numerical order. And that's all about action and doing and pushing and, it's more masculine in energy, whereas the moon is governed by the feminine. So it's just more nurturing and observant. And it's just a quieter energy.
Mm, okay. I like that. So how long have you been doing tarot?
11 years.
11 years. Okay. And how
Yeah.
long have you been using tarot in your writing?
Well, that started in 2020 when
Mhm.
we were all in quarantine.
Mm,
And I wasn't intending to use it for writing. I was just kind of bored. And I decided to see where my past lives may have been. And what came out was this amazing story of these 6 different past lives that were so detailed and rich that I decided to write a book. I never wanted to be an author in my life. That's not an aspirational goal for me, but that's
mhm.
just where life took me.
I like that. Um, so I know there's kind of like a wide range of like levels of importance that people place on tarot. Can you kind of tell us what tarot readings mean to you?
Well, the tarot, I mean, yeah, a lot of people have different, preconceived notions about it or experiences with it. But for me, the tarot is a divination tool that helps us discern and understand where we hold our energy personally. It's just about the self. Where is our energy and frequency, our vibration in relationship to the results that we are enjoying or struggling to reach in our life? It's a really powerful tool to help us understand that because our mind will tell us one thing, but our energy is never lies.
Mm,
So, and the tarot is a tool to divine. It's a divination tool to discern where your energy is.
I like that. Yeah. Um, yeah, not to so I've I've gotten some tarot readings and
Mhm.
I'm not super familiar, but I like getting them every now and then whenever people who are familiar are able to give them. But
Yeah.
I know like um I've done some like I Ching readings. I really like the I Ching a lot, mostly
Mhm.
just because I like how instead of trying to like predict your future, it's always like the wise person will do this, and it's always
Mhm.
kind of like advice for like how to act wisely, like mostly based on like Confucianisms and Taoisms and stuff.
Yeah.
um but I do like tarot a lot. I think that it's a lot more interpretive and symbolic, and I think that makes it really interesting.
Mhm.
um like how what kind of a resource would you say is smart for someone who's looking to get into it to start with? Because I feel like there's so many sources out there that are kind of like not very well done, and then there are some that are, like, really, like, well researched and kinda easier to kinda get to the bottom of it. Where did you
Yeah.
kinda start on your journey for tarot?
Well, I'm a very visual person by nature. I do
Mhm,
best and remember best and learn best, not only, just through visual, with a visual assist aid. So I
mhm,
can't just listen. So for me, now having all these tools of YouTube and all of these videos available, podcasts, whatever, there's a myriad of fabulous readers out there and instructors that offer free content online to teach the tarot, because
mm,
tarot is a language. So, just like with any language, it does require discipline, consistency, and study. And so, for me, though, using those videos to see them really teach me and talk to me, but also show me the deck at the same time, the card they were teaching or whatever, was really helpful.
I love that. Yeah, that's great, thank you.
You're
Well,
welcome.
we know the message that the tarot cards wanna leave our readers, which
Mhm.
is that it's gonna be a hectic summer, but you gotta relax in it and trust in the process, essentially.
Mhm.
What is something that you would like to leave our readers with? Any last message that you wanna make sure that they have as we're wrapping things up?
Well, I really am so excited because my second novel, Arcanum Whispers in the Forest, Arcanum is a series, and the second novel just was released this week. So I do hope that in the throes of all of this guidance, to just kind of stay in your own lane, enjoy the things that make you happy, just take it nice and easy. that you enjoy the Arcanum series in the process of all that.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and we've got links posted for anyone that's listening who's interested. I think that that's a really interesting sounding premise for a book. And it's great that you were able to kind of work through this tool to create something unique and special to you for everyone to read. So I appreciate it a lot. And thanks for coming here and giving us that reading to let us know a little bit of what we're in for the summer.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great day, Kelly.
You too, James.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Now you know what the summer's going to be like. And I'm excited for it. That sounds pretty great. We're going to keep on rolling. Up next, we've got Bill Holzman. I'm going to go ahead and bring Bill on now. Hey, Bill.
Hey, James.
Bill is the author of 6 to Carry the Casket and 1 to Say the Mass. He is here to read a reflective essay inspired by Gershwin and then perform the iconic piano piece that helped him rediscover joy. Thank you so much, Bill. I'm really excited to hear this. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about your relationship with Gershwin.
Oh, I wish I had a relationship with Gershwin directly anyway. No, I started playing the piano when I was about 9 years old, and Gershwin, this piece in particular, is one that I've always come back to. And so the essay in 6 to Carry the Casket talks about it's the role of this piece in my life, and then when I relearned it, when I returned to piano after a long time. But I picked this one today because when I'm at the beach, my favorite thing to do is to pop in earbuds and listen to music while I watch the water. Mm. And this essay, this piece of music, Gershwin's Second Prelude, it feels like the water to me. It feels like when it starts, it feels like the ebb and flow of like waves lapping up against the sand. And so, so that's why I chose this one for today.
I love that. Okay, well, go ahead and I'm going to put you in spotlight here so you can share your reading with us.
Great. So this is an excerpt from Gershwin. My first piano lesson was shortly after my 9th birthday. Once a week for 9 years, I'd sit at the Kauai in my teacher's studio at the music center to run scales and trudge through difficult passages of pieces I was learning. Around age 13, I briefly imagined my adult self as a professional musician, but when I asked her if I was on a trajectory to a music conservatory, Mrs. Nivem said, gently but clearly, no. Because she was so gentle and so clear, it felt not like a rejection, like a course correction, and I responded, oh, okay. Despite the fact that I'd never follow in the footsteps, or rather the glisse, of Daniel Barenboim and Arthur Rubinstein, she never stopped giving me more challenging pieces. She prepped me for recitals and helped me develop my stage presence like I was headed for the Clyburn. But I'd never be a virtuoso. Small successes, like making it through the final movement of the Pathétique cleanly, prompted an explosion of applause. My old sheet music is peppered with her affirmations of excellent, great, or my favorite, wunderbar. I never got to be a great pianist. I struggled with reading music. Reading the English language is hard enough for me. Putting a Rachmaninoff prelude in front of me risks sparking a stroke. And I had poor control of my 5th fingers. Most people call those pinkies. Despite these shortcomings, I got to be a decent amateur. I learned how to perform and how not to lose my shit in front of people. I learned how to lose myself in the music. I absorbed how music works, the structures and the physics that bounce and reverberate and echo or soothe or awaken or rattle the beating and the sighing and the violence of the human heart. When all I could hear was that the world hated me, I found octaves that propelled me out of it. When all I could see was failure and insufficiency, I found chords that refueled my pride. When loneliness was my companion, we found a home together inside the harmonies and passions captured on paper in a curious and beautiful series of lines and dots. I started learning Gershwin's Prelude 2 during 9th grade, shortly after a slur about being a gay man was spit in my face for the first time. The adolescent body is cruel. It surprises you with spurts and bursts. Your brain does backflips and your body is smeared with layers of awkwardness. No one tells you that your primary task, and pretty much the only thing you're able to do well, is to be a mess. You're still thinking like a child, but appearing as an adult, and most teens don't get a course in how to be queer in the world. So, every look at, or from, or near, or toward, or slightly by other bodies that stir and trigger unhoned instincts might be a glimpse of paradise, or a path to brutal suffering. During free periods or lunch, instead of subjecting myself to the crowds in the student center or the treachery of the hallways, I stashed myself in the school's chapel and plucked away on its rickety upright. If others entered and asked what's up, I feigned a need to practice as cover for fear of the known. At my saddest, at my happiest, at my most bored, I played Gershwin's Prelude. The chords that kept the beat moving forward gave my left hand ebbing power, pulling and pushing steady and gentle waves that lapped over me and centered me. The melody is drawn out by the right hand, a slight shimmer that expands into a jazzy cascade whose notes should dissonate but float and land comfortably together. Some days I could feel the melody start in my feet and crawl up through my spine, through my crown, and wrap around me. A few bars of music, and I was safe. In 30-something years of playing, I have never seen or even heard myself on the piano. This was a dramatic realization for me, but instead of whining about my parents' lack of interest in recording my recitals, or anything really, ours was not a home with a video recorder and family movies. I wondered why, with a smartphone always within reach for over a decade, I never thought to record myself. Sure, most people don't like to watch or hear themselves. Haven't we all had the moment of hearing our voice on a recording and shuddering at the discrepancy between the sounds inside and outside? Is that really what I sound like? But no one took pictures of me as a kid. Even now, I'm not the one people take pics of to post on the socials with a funny or serious or calming or beautiful or ridiculous caption. Either manifesting a deep desire to know myself from all angles, or as a persistent exercise in vanity, I'm the guy who takes so many goddamn selfies. And I've gotten pretty good at it. Long arms and portrait mode are my best friends. But never at a piano. One morning I was feeling pretty strong at the keys, and I thought, I wonder. I stacked a few books and positioned the phone to capture most of the keyboard and enough of my profile, and I hit the red button to record. Is that what my hands look like? When did I get a double chin? Do I ever smile? Listening to my left hand pull and push the rhythm gently, I couldn't stop obsessing over my appearance. Am I really that gray? I need to stop telling people my hair is brown. I need to stop telling myself my hair is brown. When the melody expands from a single line to fuller octaves, my hands looked so easy, so at ease. They seemed to know what they're doing. That fifth finger didn't look so bad. And then the bridge. I'm hesitant, careful, particular. It's not as easy, as flowing as the start. But I didn't hit any clunkers. I hit every note right, with my hands crossed, my left hand pulsing in the middle, and my right hand dancing in the lower register.
Beautiful. I love that. That was such a beautiful way of describing that. Yeah, I'm going to keep you in spotlight. Go right into the piece. I'm excited to hear it. Beautiful. Bill, thank you so much. We're about out of time. Any message you want to make sure that you leave with our listeners before we head out?
One of the great gifts of writing this book was returning to a lot of experiences and relationships and places that helped me know myself and helped me know the world around me. So I really encourage anybody to make time, make space to prioritize reflection, and to think about the places, the relationships that shaped you and can help you shape the world.
I love that. Well, thank you, Bill. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, James.
I love that. I'm so impressed when people can play the piano. I'm rhythmically challenged, and so when I went to church as a kid, I'd clap like this so I didn't throw everyone off. So I'm always so impressed by piano. um, Up next, we've got Peter Gribble. Let me go ahead and bring you on, Peter. Hello.
Hello.
Peter is the award-winning author of the City of the Magician series. He's here to reveal the summer reading that, as a boy, propelled him into becoming a writer. How are you doing today, Peter?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. Tell us about this reading that inspired you as a boy.
Well, as a child, of course, we were read to by our parents, mostly my mom. And these were the typical books. They're sort of classics. I'm not sure anyone reads them anymore. Winnie the Pooh, The House at Pooh Corner, that
Hmm.
sort of thing. And the most adventurous one was this one, which I should show you um, the Wind in the Willows.
Yeah.
And yeah, these books are copies of 19 in the 1930s, so
Hmm.
they've been around for a while. But but then I started to branch out to read on my own, and one of the books I really liked was A Traveler in Time by Alison Utley, of a little girl who is evacuated from London into the country, and she starts to see things and she realizes that she is being taken into the past.
Hmm.
Then there are, typical ones like Three Men on a Boat, which is a wonderful, rollicking thing. Pre-World War One. This is not a pre-World War One copy, but and then a Canadian classic, Adams and Gables. And the other thing that was a lot of fun was My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell.
Hmm.
And so these are classics that are probably not read as much, but um, uh, they're still worthwhile reading now. But there's an interesting thing that can happen when you read a book. There's something called a gateway book that changes you.
Mm.
And my first gateway book was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and it was written in a completely different style. It was became a classic in 1930, and is still one of the reasons. One of the definitions of a classic is it's a book that never goes out of print, and
Mm.
it's still available. Um, but then the next gateway was the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. Um,
Oh,
so
yeah,
these
yeah.
are, yeah,
Didn't they
and
just do a whole series on that?
yes, inspired, but they are
Yeah.
certainly not following
Oh, really? Okay.
the
That's
plot.
good to know. I
They
hadn't
have
read the
some
book, but I'd seen the series, so.
yeah. Then the books are really interesting. They have a very long scope, which I
Mhm.
found very satisfying. That this was not just not, oh, this is what happened here and now. But then it
Mhm.
went, oh, there's another generation, and
Yeah.
a plan
Mhm.
for a crumbling society to bloom 1,000 years from this period of decay and decline. And that idea stuck in me. Um, and that's one of the topics in City of the Magician series.
Mhm.
So book one, Threat, is the story about a pacifist, nonviolent city-state that has a healing spring that they quietly, gently fleece the pilgrims that are coming for healing and rest and restoration. But they realize that there's a barbarian invasion coming in 6 months. And what do? They have a plan. It should work. But the young man chosen, Sass, his name is shocked. He said, "Me? I'm supposed to educate the barbarian? No, you made a mistake." And then there's a young woman who inadvertently discovers an underground movement plotting to collaborate with the same barbarian for their reasons. So I have two protagonists on either side of the fence of how do you get ready. And So the first book is about how they get ready, the missteps, the mistakes, the unexpected death of one of the characters, which is probably
Mhm.
not one of those two characters. But then they're struggling to get ready. And so there are various hits and misses, and they think they're all prepared. But Sas and Lalia, the two characters, they're basically pawns in the strategies of others. But
Mhm.
the nice thing about the first book is it only takes a pawn to change the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, so first of all, I wanted to ask how many of those books that you held up, are any of them your actual copy from when you were a child?
No, I've had to refine. I had to discover
Oh,
them again.
gotcha.
There were old copies, but they were in such sad shape. They'd gone through three generations, and they were falling apart.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, oh, like if I had an original first edition of Dune, it would be
Mhm.
worth a fortune.
Yeah.
But yeah, but this is another breakout novel for me as well. That also talked about a very long-term plan
Yeah.
about how to restore a culture, humanity, all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
This one's a little violent, um, but still the whole notion of secret societies trying to manipulate, change,
Yeah. Well, and
correct, all that sort of stuff.
Dune is like a master's class in world building too.
Absolutely.
Just it's so good at explaining an entirely different universe.
Yeah. So that
Uh,
was the fun of writing City of the Magicians. I had to create a writing style and basically no words in my vocabulary that were any later than, say, the 18th century. I
mm,
didn't want to have any clues that this is being written in the 21st century when I'm writing about a different culture and time entirely. So, yeah, and it was a
absolutely.
ton of fun.
So you talked some about your gateway novels rather. Um, do you remember like the first time that you found a book and you were like, I can't put this down, or like you're losing sleep because you just got to figure out how it ends or anything like that? Do you remember that first time?
Um, Rebecca was one of them for sure, but
Mhm.
also the Foundation trilogy as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I got hooked into Asimov that way, and then
Mhm.
read almost every other book that he wrote.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it develops a hunger, and you just say, "Wow, what amazing!" But then, if you read it in one book after another, you begin to see the patterns, and not necessarily the formula, but I began to anticipate what was going to happen, even though it wasn't directly um, clued in into the narrative. But then I
Mhm.
began realizing, oh, this is the MacGuffin, or this is the linchpin that will sort of reveal something else. And
Yeah.
sure enough, oh yeah, oh well, okay. So and that forces you to look elsewhere. Or
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sensing a theme of sci-fi. Were you big on
yes.
sci-fi as a kid, basically?
Not so much. I began reading more memoirs and
Mhm.
history. I began there's that lovely saying that truth is stranger than fiction.
Mhm.
And I found the strangeness of the truth be utterly fascinating and compelling. So that's why I started reading histories and memoirs. And some of the books behind me are um, like that. I'm going to see if I can point from this way. That batch and that batch up there, these are memoirs from the courts of Europe. So these
Oh,
are
wow.
people who were in the courts and they're keeping their memoirs. There was a very famous one by the Duke of Saint-Simon during the reign of both Louis the 13th and Louis the 14th. And he was a fairly important person in the court. And everyone knew he was writing, but they had no idea what he was writing. He was taking down notes of what was going on in court. And some of it
Hmm.
was pretty scandalous. And when he
Yeah.
finally sort of began publishing them, they were shocked.
Yeah.
How dare you write about my affair with such and such a person? Or, yeah, very interesting revelations.
Yeah. No, that's a really interesting, book. I One of the things I really like about reading nonfiction is how often it can come up in a conversation and people will be like, "You're reading about what?" Like, right now I'm reading this book, Salt, which is all about the history of salt,
Oh,
and
yes,
it's
yes,
a
that's
fascinating book. But it's like
brilliant. Yeah.
anytime you try to talk to people about it, they're like, "Why are you interested in salt?" It just seems like such a
Oh,
mundane thing, but it's so fascinating.
but it's mundane, but absolutely pivotal to our
Yeah,
lives. Oh, no, that's a
absolutely.
brilliant book. Brilliant
Yeah.
book. And I
Um,
also, in order to fill out some of the world building for City of the Magicians,
mhm.
every once in a while they have a feast. And in book two, the barbarian arrives and they have to sort of celebrate his arrival. So I found this amazing book, which unfortunately it's in the kitchen, um, called The Opera of Bartolomeo Scappi.
Mhm.
And it was printed in 1570. And
Oh,
he was
wow.
called the Pope of Chefs and the Chef to Popes. And the book is this thick. It was brilliantly translated by Terence Scully.
Mhm.
And you can open this up and just say, "Oh, goodness, he was the Martha Stewart, to put it simply, of the 16th century."
Yeah.
And he basically made the food for, I think it was a 3-month conclave,
Mhm.
and so they were dining like kings, these cardinals. And
Yeah.
but
Absolutely. Yeah. No, those ancient recipes are always really fascinating to read. That's another thing about that salt book. There's a lot of old
oh
recipes involving salt and
yeah,
brine in there. Um,
yeah.
we're running out of time, Peter. Anything that you want to make sure that you leave with our listeners before we say bye?
Okay. Well, the thing about summertime reading is you never know what's going to hit you between the eyes and just say, "Oh my goodness!" And so just to let people know that books 1, 2, and 3 are out of the City of Magicians, and I am working on books 4, 5, and 6.
All right. It
So
sounds
happy
good.
reading, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to reading those. Thanks so much for coming by, Peter.
Thanks very much, James, for having me.
All right. Bye. All right. That was awesome. Okay. So we are going to keep rolling right through to Sue Williams Silverman. Sue Williams Silverman. Hi, Sue. How are you today?
Hi, James. How are you?
Good. Sue is the author of Acetylene Torch Songs, writing true stories to ignite the soul. She's here to read a flash fiction excerpt from her upcoming book, Selected Misdemeanors, Essays at the Mercy of the Reader, before leaving the audience with an exciting writing prompt. I'm excited to get around to that later, but first off, I want to start off with this reading. Let me go ahead and put you in spotlight here. So yeah, can you show off the book first? Oh, I guess we see it in the back there, but
Right.
yeah.
This is Acetylene Torch Songs, and basically it's a craft book on how to write creative nonfiction, memoir or personal essay. And I am going to read a piece of flash creative nonfiction, and it's called Emerald Isle. I hid on the veranda of our house on Blackbeard's Hill in St. Thomas, watching my parents' elegant parties. Mainly, I admired the creme de menthe, how it glittered in long-stemmed liqueur glasses, how women sipped it as evening approached midnight, shimmering like the gems on their bracelets and earrings. But the creme de menthe was more engaging, a small sea rippling green tides of joy. Decades later, I still own one of my parents' creme de menthe bottles. I display it on a shelf in my Michigan kitchen. The slender neck balloons to a globe still half filled. The distiller is Marie Brizard and Rocher Bordeaux, France, founded in the 1770s, still thriving. The faded label promotes it as a liqueur hygienic and digestive. Even before the cork cracked, before the liqueur turned, I never drank it, nor have I ordered creme de menthe in restaurants. It's too mystical, alluring, exquisite, resplendent. It's too consumed by adjectives. It must remain in glass globules to be admired, protected, savored like memory, like those rare moments when a tropical setting sun, in a flash, turns from sapphire yellow to emerald green. After the party, I inhaled the glass's residue, which smelled cool as twilight rain on frangipani leaves. Thank you.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so creme de menthe has this mystical significance to you. Um, so
Yes.
you've so you've never had it, like in
No,
general.
no.
That's so interesting to me.
I know. It has to, because, it has to remain sort of mystical
Yeah, yeah.
and kind of magical. And if I drank it, it would almost be sort of too real.
Yeah.
So it's just like an obsession that I have.
That is so cool. No, that's like an extreme version of how when I get really excited about a movie coming out, I make sure to not watch any trailers and have any idea about what it's about. And
Yeah,
that's such a like interesting kind of extension of that same line of thought. So I
right.
love
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
That's really cool. Okay, so I'm just so interested in that. So you've got like a display bottle that you said at this point is almost certainly turned,
Yeah.
and would be undrinkable, I'm sure.
Yeah. No,
How
I sort of took the cork off and it smells awful now.
well, yeah, because there's actual like cream in that, right? So eventually that would curdle, I'd imagine. I don't know for
Yeah.
sure, but
Yeah.
so how old is that? How long ago did you wind up grabbing that?
Oh, so I got it probably in the early 60s, I would
Oh yeah.
say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think the point really of the essay, or like when you're writing creative nonfiction in general, is like, I think most writers want to write their obsessions. And
mhm,
that's the advice that I would give anybody who's writing or thinking of writing is, what obsesses you? What sort of grabs you? And it could be something as kind of ordinary as creme de menthe, or it could be a movie, it could be a piece of music, it could be a book, it could be a celebrity, anything. Just find something that obsesses you and then write about it. And the
mhm,
reason I why that's so important and really is at the heart of creative nonfiction is that, I could just sit here and say, yeah, I was really obsessed with creme de menthe. I thought it was pretty, but that's not the story. What
yeah,
we want to do is find, why was I obsessed with it? What is sort of the story behind the story? What does that all mean?
mm,
And I would never know that just thinking about it. But so what I discovered when I was writing the essay is that this creme de menthe is really a metaphor for kind of beauty and joy, how beauty and joy can be discovered in the ephemeral, in this sort of
mm,
fleeting moment in time, really. And so that's sort of the point and why I love creative nonfiction, and sort of at the heart of it, we don't just write our lives. We want to take our lives or these individual moments in our lives and really turn them into art.
mm.
And so, and the only way to do that, of course, is by writing and by discovering that sort of deeper inner meaning of whatever the subject matter is.
Yeah. No, it's an incredibly creative essay because, like the way you put it before is like it's perfect because at the heart of it, you're saying like I had an obsession with creme de menthe. No one cares, right?
Right. Totally nobody cares. Yeah.
But you do a really good job of expanding on what that obsession comes from, what it means to you, and really kind of setting it up as an almost holy part of your life. This kind of, uh, take off your sandals kind of thing where you're like, I'm not even going to try it because I want to maintain that mysticism forever. And I think that that's
Exactly.
really, really intriguing. What kind of advice would you have for people who are looking to get into creative nonfiction? Because I feel like fiction is difficult, but a lot of people, at least in my experience, find it easier to try to make up a story than to try to feel like their story has enough weight to be able to tell others.
Well,
And
right. I mean, I think that what we, as writers of creative nonfiction, we really have to believe that our stories are important. And it
mm,
is. We all have a story to tell, maybe more than one. I've written 4 memoirs or memoir and essay form, and I have this new one coming out. Um, and it's just a belief that what happens to you, whether it's something small like being obsessed with creme de menthe or something larger, I've written 2 memoirs on, some dark subjects, but it doesn't matter what your story is. It's just believe in it. And if you care about it, then your reader will too.
mhm,
But just know that it's not just telling this surface story, like this happened to me, then this happened to me. So my best advice would be, find your courage, find some time over the summer when maybe, you have a vacation or some time off, and sit down and tap into that courage and know that you can go deeper than just the surface of what happened to you. Discover sort of the metaphors of the experience, that sort of deeper underlying message.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think like in fiction, a lot of times the advice is like instead of starting with the plot, you should start with the character. And I think like we kind of skip that step sometimes in nonfiction because we think, well, I already know the character, but we don't
Right.
necessarily.
Right. We don't. I mean, I think that, before I started writing, oh yeah, I know who I am, whatever.
Yeah.
And but it's really learning the self on a much deeper level. And
Yeah.
it's very different, even say from therapy, because writing creative nonfiction is not therapy.
Mhm.
It's really going much, much deeper
Mhm.
into sort of the psyche, your emotional makeup, and making those discoveries. And it's amazing. I mean, because it's so, you've got one life. Here I am. I want to know who I am,
Yeah.
before I die.
Right.
And so, and a great way to do that is to write creative nonfiction. And,
Mhm.
and yes, it'd be great if you want to learn how to do it by reading my book, but just, but however you do it, just believe in yourself, believe in your story. And that is the sort of my takeaway for this, is that we all do have a story to tell. And it's
Absolutely.
really, and if you don't tell it, nobody will. So,
Mhm.
so just, believe in it and trust it. And I did promise a prompt.
Yes. Yeah.
A-
I was
a-
just going to ask. Yep. We're running low on time. So let's get the prompt out
yeah.
there.
So the prompt is take something like either, like I did this creme de menthe. Take one small thing that obsesses you, just one small thing, and just set it in a little scene, a specific moment in time, and then just build out from there. So it could be a movie you recently saw, a piece of music that sort of stuck in your head or something, whatever obsesses you, just take that and just start from there, and
Mm.
just build out and see where it leads you. It might lead you someplace really unexpected.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate that. Everyone's got some homework now, so that's good. Sue, thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure to have another Michigander on. So
Yes,
thank you.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll
Bye-bye.
see you later. Bye.
Bye.
All right. That was awesome. Okay. So, and we have now reached our final guest, or not our final guest, but our next guest is going to be William Holst. Let me go ahead and bring you on. Hey, Bill.
James.
William is the co-author of Alan Hovhaness, Unveiling One of the Great Composers of the 20th Century, and he's here today to reminisce about the summer experiences of a classic composer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, James?
I'm doing great. So tell us a little bit, just to begin with, about your interest in Alan Hovhaness and kind of where it comes from.
So I'm actually the stepson of Alan Hovhaness. My
Oh,
mother
okay. There
was
you go.
married to Alan. Actually, she wrote most of the experiences that are they're talked about in the book. So the book actually, there are different phases of Alan Hovhaness's music career. So pretty much it covers the final phase, and then it goes through other items other than his music. It captures the personal side of the composer. Most people know him as a composer, but this gets into the background of his personality. You get a little flavor of kind of behind the scenes, what's going on in the classical music world, conversations behind the scenes, and it documents when certain events actually occurred. So it contains, all the documentation and personal side of Alan Hovhaness.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And part of this involves some specifically summer-related stories, right?
Right. So the two snippets I'm going to discuss are related to summer. If you'd like me to start those now. So
Yeah, go for it. Here, let me go ahead and put you in the spotlight.
okay. So the first reading is from Alan Hovhaness's childhood, his summer memories that he had. Uncle Frank was a delightful person. Alan often went nature painting with him. These were such fun times for Alan. They climbed the hills, looked for spots with mountain views, and then they took their position to paint. Even though those were nice, clear days, Alan's childhood paintings turned out to be something awesome with wild mountain storms. His explanation was that peaceful mountain scenes were not interesting, so he put drama into his paintings. Alan's other uncle had a farm in New Hampshire. One of Alan's happiest memories was visiting his farm. From the back of his uncle's house, Alan could see the farm all the way to the foot of the Catamount Mountain, which was shaped like a sleeping cat. In the summertime, the hills were filled with blueberries, and Alan went blueberry picking with his parents. He picked berries with them for a while, but soon snuck off and climbed the hills. At the top of the hills, above the tree line, a magnificent view opened in front of him, and he found himself surrounded by mountains. And the second reading is actually by the author, her summertime memories about Alan Hovhaness. One summer night changed my destiny. Alan Hovhaness, the composer, was appearing at the Cornish School of Arts, giving a lecture concert on July 12, 1973. I decided to attend the concert. When I arrived, I saw a tall, slender, and aged composer. I was fascinated by his music and was surprised to find such a good contemporary composer existed. At the reception after the concert, the guests were having refreshments and chatting. When Alan Hovhaness stepped into the center door to the reception room, at that instant he saw me. There was a moment of astonishment, and I saw his eyes utterly somersault. His expressive dark brown eyes could not hide his emotion. I knew that when I had given him a strong impression. After that, he never looked at me straight. He was looking at the floor all night long, even though he stayed near me all the time.
Okay, that was awesome. So first of all, I love the bit about putting drama in his paintings. The idea that the peaceful mountain is just not interesting enough, and I think that that's really interesting. Do you feel like that is? Do you feel like that is kind of like a philosophy that translated into his composure as well, into his composing as well?
Absolutely. Yep. The sharp, jagged mountains, stormy mountains really inspired his music. He actually lived in Switzerland for a few years,
Okay.
and he came to live into the Pacific Northwest because of Mount Rainier, and then there's some mountain ranges in this area. So that's where he resided to inspire his music.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, that's really interesting to me because I think that that's like almost like a lesson you can put on life in general, right? Like even like if nothing is if nothing's really stirring in your life, like it might be peaceful, but it also might be boring. And like the idea that there has to be some kind of storm in order to generate something interesting is really compelling, I think. And I feel like I think you also mentioned that he had a pretty interesting relationship with rock and roll as well. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. So there was many different areas that Alan had exposure to in his life because he did so many travels throughout the world. But I think I'd like to talk about his relationship with rock and roll. So when he went and traveled to India, and he was doing studies there in India, he met Ravi Shankar and his brother Uday Shankar. So Ravi Shankar is a famous sitar and composer, and his brother Uday was a dancer and choreographer. So Alan actually wrote a piece for Ravi Shankar, which included the sitar, violin, and orchestra. And then Ravi actually performed that. And Alan was one of his most, he promoted Ravi Shankar's music in the United States. And then, as we all know, in 1966, George Harrison and Paul McCartney met Ravi Shankar, and from that they have a piece in Sgt. Pepper's that has the sitar. Ravi Shankar also influenced the Byrds, the Doors, and so anyway, that's kind of his relationship with Ravi
That's really
Shankar.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like the sitar was in a lot of music back then. Like a lot of bands had like a song or two with the sitar in it. So that kind of makes sense that he was kind of influencing various bands through that. That's really wild.
Right.
So there's like almost like a direct connection then between Hovhannes and a lot of the classic rock music that kind of flowed out of that time period.
Right. So there's a lot of different genres, but the music world still is kind of small. Even though you're doing different types of music, they still know of each other and corresponded with each other. So as a matter of fact, Santana, Carlos Santana, did an interpretation of Alan Hovhannes' Second Symphony, Mysterious Mountain, on his Oneness album, and it's called Transformation Day. And of course, we know that Santana performed at 1969 Woodstock Festival. And Alan also has other connections with Woodstock. He has there was a New York clarinetist, Larry Sobel, and Richie Havens. Richie Havens also performed at Woodstock. They were very close friends and throughout the years. So there was that connection also.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. We're coming up on time here, but is there a message that you would like to make sure that you leave with our viewers today? Anything you want to make sure to leave them with?
Yeah. So there's so many facets of Alan Hovhannes. Really, his compositions, his music is kind of the tip of the iceberg, since he had, traveled throughout the world and studied different cultures and religions. That I almost think of him as kind of the Da Vinci Code type person. So this book kind of captures his personality and behind the scenes of the classical music world.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it, Bill. Thanks for coming on and telling us a little bit more about your expertise and introducing us to this really fascinating topic. And like I've been saying for others, we got links to your work, so hopefully a lot of people will pick it up and learn more for themselves. Thanks for coming on, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. And our last speaker is going to be Sarah Winnacor. Sarah is coming to us from Thailand, so we're going to have a recorded video from her, and she is going to be talking to us, sharing a short reading with us and taking us on a journey to faraway lands. She is the author of the award-winning book, Ivory Bones, The Lewis Chessman Murders. So without further ado, go ahead and take it away, Sarah.
Hey everyone, I'm actually speaking to you from the country of Laos, which has got to be one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I know that summer is approaching and that I hope that many of you have a chance to travel, whether it be to visit family or friends or even to another country, or perhaps to just delve into another world through reading books, which we often do. We're about to do the Beach Bound Book Bash, and while I'm not next to what we typically think of a beach, I am in Laos. I'm gonna turn this to just show you the Mekong River, just how beautiful it is. It's a lovely, lovely spot. And I thought I would take the opportunity to just read a few bits from my book. The book is called Ivory Bones. Whoops, sorry about that. Ivory Bones, The Lewis Chessman Murders. And while it might not seem as if it has much to do with Laos, it does have a lot to do with journeying from country to country. It is a story, it's a historical murder mystery that actually is set in 3 different countries. It's set in Iceland and in Algiers, Algeria, and then in the 1600s New York, or New Amsterdam. So it ties in a bit with travel, and I hope you enjoy it. I just wanted to read a portion of the book to you. So the present day is set in Reykjavik, Iceland, in January of 2024. The leather-bound book was tucked beneath a jumble of bones, with no explanatory note as to why Brynja Pell's daughter should make of it. Unusual, yes, but she had seen stranger things as chief of forensics at Legacy Genetics. This sturdy box had arrived at her office unmarked. The only clue to its origin was an old street map of New Amsterdam buried inside. She squinted to read the faded ink. I hasten to write my last words. In my life, I have survived unspeakable horrors. 20-odd years ago, in the year of our Lord, 1627, I was taken captive from my beloved Iceland and swept across vast and furious seas by the cruelest of men, the Barbary pirates. Torn from my family and my homeland, I met a slave's fate in Algiers and servitude in Morocco. Now I tremble in the dark hollow of my master's shed. That's just the helicopter. Kept away from his clapboard house in New Amsterdam. I hear footsteps approach. We meant no harm. I pray Willem will live to love again. For me, it is too late. God save my soul. Sorrow seeped into Brynja's bones. She fixed on the date, 1627. Brynja knew the year well. Every Icelander did. 1627 was the year of the Turkish raid on the Westman Islands. The year pirates from Morocco and Algiers ravaged the small archipelago and abducted hundreds of Icelanders to be sold as slaves along the Barbary coast of North Africa. So I'm going to read you just a few little bits from the diary, which is the book that Brynja received. The crux of the mystery in the book is solving the mystery of the lost Lewis chessmen, which were in the possession of the woman that wrote the diary back in 1600s, and she had left a number of them on the in Iceland. And many people are after these Lewis chessmen because they're quite valuable. They're worth about $2 million a piece, and there's still 3 or 4 pieces missing, and most of them are in the British Museum. This is real historical fact. So in the diary, I'll just read you a couple little bits. At long last, summer has arrived. As God comforts us all in the end, the weather has cleared these past few weeks. Mom is once again able to care for baby Gudrun. Milk from our surviving ewe sustains us all. She has given birth to 2 lambs. As Gylfi once again catches cod from the depths of the sea, and Christian studies at Skalholt, I am given leave to forage seabird eggs. No other girl in our small village is allowed such freedom. Mom is a strong, independent woman. Her Viking blood runs in me as well. I needn't be confined to household chores alone. In the crisp, cool air, I thrill to cling to a knotted twine of horsehair and swing across the cliff face. Grabbing hold of a ledge high above the tide, I pluck razorbill and guillemot eggs from their nests and tuck them in my leather satchel. I return home to squeals of delight from little Laura. She loves the colorful guillemot eggs with their speckled shells of blue, coral, and pink. She sometimes steals off with one to brighten her corner of the turf house. She does not yet understand the eggs mean survival. We bury them in peat and ash to serve as sustenance through the endless winter. Mama loves her children so, and does not mind the small bit of joy this brings to Laura. I often marvel at God's design. The eggs are pear-shaped, allowing them to roll round and round in an arc, avoiding a fatal fall from the cliff. My mind wanders. Perhaps not God, but the will to survive is what makes creatures adapt so cleverly. So the book goes on to detail the journey of this captive of the Barbary pirates. There were actually several hundred of them that were taken. I'll show you a quick map here, that were taken from Iceland to the north of Africa to be sold as slaves. And I'll read you a small excerpt of that. And then Anna goes on, the diarist goes on to a better life in New Amsterdam, but I can't really give away the mystery. So I'll read you just a little bit about, about the pirate raid and then her journey to Algiers. I gaze out at sea. I cannot move. I command my limbs to run, but they do not obey. 3 ships prowl across the silent sea like sharks stalking their prey. These are not the Danish ships, as we so foolishly believed. They are pirates. Minutes pass like hours as the pirates lower rowing boats and steal towards the rocky beach, the oars wrapped in oakum to silence the sound. Finally, the hulls scrape gravel, unleashing hundreds of crazed, burly men upon our shore. The pirates howl like packs of wild wolves, clawing and snarling as they explode up the cliff, waving their red banners, muskets, and sabers. Fear ignites my legs at last. I run. I must warn the others. Alas, I am no match for the onslaught of evil. My skirt catches on the sharp lava rock, and I fall. Just one other little bit from when Fred does first arrive in Algiers, just so you get a sense of what life was like for these slaves in Algiers. From the sea, Algiers appears a shining jewel in the hot sun. Whitewashed houses climb a mountainside enveloped in green hills. To the fortunate ones, Algiers is a diamond adorned with emeralds, a treasure gem to those who benefit from the slave trade. As for us, our pitiful group of 400 Icelanders, we are clapped in irons. The city is enclosed by mortared walls and heavy lattice gates. There is no escape. My skirts sweep the stones of the breakwater as we are pushed and prodded towards the Badistan, the slave market. In the oppressive heat, we lumber along narrow cobblestone alleyways past the jeering crowd, the stench of dung overpowering the wisps of jasmine and oleander. Donkeys groan under heavy burdens, camels spit and grumble, vendors shout their wares. And then the experience of being actually sold as a slave and what that was like. Those of us who have not been chosen by the Pasha are marched down to the open-air slave market. We struggle to stand barefoot upon the hot stones without so much as a drop of water to drink. Burly men with truncheons separate us into groups, wrenching man from wife, brother from sister, friend from friend. The howling of parents and screams of children run like ice through my veins. Sorrow guts my heart. Across the square, Papi is so weak I can only half believe he is still alive. Each of us is examined as though cattle up for auction. Mouths are wrenched open, our teeth examined for signs of good or ill health. Many men are forced to strip naked, then prodded with spears to dance and jump about to show their strength. Our group of young women is shamelessly inspected for all to see. I will myself to float above my body, to deny the men that are touching me so. Purity brings a high price. Many of us will be sent to harems, some to citizens of Algiers, still others to sultans in far-off lands of the Ottoman Empire. Well, I certainly hope your travels this summer are a lot more joyful than that. I certainly am enjoying Laos. I would like to show you more of it, but I'm afraid we're probably running out of time. But it is just a gorgeous spot, right along the Mekong River here. Bamboo, ships, mountains in the background. Absolutely gorgeous. So I hope you all enjoy your summer. and it's been a pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, and that is it for the Beachbound Book Bash. If you participated in our giveaway, make sure you are checking your inbox. We will be reaching out to winners and notifying them shortly. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to all of our guests who hopped on with us today and shared a little bit of their expertise with us. We look forward to seeing you next time for the live author chats and next year for the Beachbound Book Bash. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you later.